Imagine living among a landscape of scorching, barren rocks, carrying a decade of silence and grief. For one couple, this environment is a tomb. Over the past several years, they have had 8 children. Every single one of them died at the exact moment of their birth. Inside their small house, the mother is enduring the agony of delivering her 9th child. Outside, the father refuses to go in. He won't even consider holding the newborn. He paces in the dirt, paralyzed by fear, simply waiting for the inevitable crying to start and then abruptly stop. Over time, his mind has created a terrifying association with the natural world around him. He believes his previous 8 children perished the very second the sun reached its absolute peak in the sky. To him, the zenith marks a definitive end for his bloodline. The sun climbs to its highest point. The harsh light beams down. But the infant's cries continue. The child survives the perilous moment, lying on its back, staring straight up at the blinding light with its eyes wide open. As the newborn locks eyes with the harsh midday sun, it actually smiles. Hearing the continued cries, the father rushes through the door. He sees the child breathing, moving, and very much alive. The cycle has finally broken. This survival rewrites the father's reality. A decade of chronic grief is replaced by an intoxicating surge of hope. Yet, given the history of the house, this new reality is highly fragile. That initial euphoria doesn't last long. On only its 2nd day of life, the infant opens its mouth and speaks. It uses clear, articulated words. Immediately, the relief of survival curdles into deep suspicion. The mother's reaction is visceral. She views the infant as an unnatural, dangerous entity that must be hidden to ensure their survival. The father takes the exact opposite approach. He has spent years isolated in these hills, enduring the pity and mockery of passing travelers. He craves validation. Instead of fearing the anomaly, he leans right into it. The true extent of the baby's omniscience reveals itself when a visiting woman sings a lullaby. The newborn listens closely and then casually critiques the specific, complex musical structure of the woman's raga, pointing out where her notes went wrong. This chart shows the standard path of human cognitive development, specifically comparing innate versus acquired knowledge. Humans are born with innate reflexes, but complex systems like musical theory have to be acquired. Learning follows a natural, gradual curve upward as the brain develops. But here is the cognitive map of the 9th child. On day 2, the intellect violently spikes past the boundary of human capability. A newborn infant possessing comprehensive knowledge of musical theory violates the biological laws of human learning entirely. This intelligence acts as a psychological wedge between the parents. The mother is driven by baseline survival instincts, terrified of what they have brought into the world. The father, however, sees an opportunity to inflate his own ego. The grieving outcast transforms into a boastful host. He starts small, dragging 3 older travelers off the local path and forcing them into his home to witness the impossible survival of his child. Soon, that isn't enough. His obsession escalates into an active campaign. He leaves the hills, hunting down world-renowned astrologers, seeking out brilliant mathematicians, and finding master musicians, leading them all back to his isolated home. A rigorous sequence of testing begins. Each esteemed master attempts to stump the infant with their most complex academic trials, and one by one, the baby effortlessly dismantles their life's work, systematically humiliating the scholars until they literally bow at the infant's feet. Watching this, the father becomes completely intoxicated. He isn't the one answering the questions, but he absorbs the second-hand power. Every time a scholar bows, he feels his own stature grow. He is the man who controls access to the only being in the world with all the answers. The introduction of this external validation totally warps his primary goal. He is no longer a father trying to protect a vulnerable miracle. He has appointed himself the greedy gatekeeper of a divine spectacle. Driven by unchecked greed, the father solidifies his grand plan. He decides to broadcast the child's existence to the entire world, intending to turn their barren, rocky hills into a lucrative global pilgrimage site. He tells the baby his plan. The infant calmly agrees to the global broadcast, but delivers a terrifying caveat. The child promises that when the crowds arrive, it will speak to them about exactly one thing, the father's ultimate secret. The omniscient baby knows the horrifying truth. To prevent anyone from leaking the secret before his grand, profitable reveal, the father has been systematically murdering every single scholar as soon as their testing concluded. Their bodies are wedged deep inside the rocky crevices surrounding the house. Hearing this, the father's psyche collapses completely. Stripped of his ego and suddenly terrified of being exposed by the very entity he sought to exploit, his mind fractures under the weight of his own guilt. Later that night, the mother wakes up. The house is quiet, but she realizes with absolute horror that her husband is missing, and he is repeating a dark, familiar ritual. Muttering a quiet mantra, the father walks out into the jagged rocks. In one hand, he carries a torch, in the other, the dead body of the 9th child. The curse of the midday sun was always a lie. His own crippling paranoia is the true cause of all 9 infant deaths. The father's desperate pursuit of validation turned a miracle into a source of his own exposure. The child reflected his darkest, most destructive self back at him.